Hello everyone, welcome to Nintendo Bitcast. I'm Shifty, and with me is Mike of Mike's Monster Gaming.
What's up, guys? Mike here.
Trueagle, who's on YouTube and Twitter.
Hey everybody, it's TheTrueagle.
And finally Amanda, which you can find her on YouTube and Twitter at Mandy Lee Plays.
Hello, it's Mandy.
Their links will be in the description below, and with our first topic, and probably I think the most important topic now that of recording, it's going to be a year soon since the Switch has released. I want to know, since the Switch had released or has released, what do you think of where it is right now?
Well, honestly, in terms of where the Switch is, honestly, the Switch for me has been like a dream console because not only the fact that we have like a console that is powerful at home, but you actually also can take it on the go with you, which I think is a fantastic thing to have. It's just beautiful that you're starting up a game at home and you have to go out somewhere. You could just take it with you and legitimately have your save data right there on hand, and you could just keep going wherever you are, which is a really fantastic thing to me. And honestly, I've been enjoying the Switch since day one, personally.
Right. And what about you, Mandy?
For me, it was like a slow burn. At first, I didn't really like the Switch. It had no games and stuff. It was like just a Zelda machine.
Mm-hmm.
But now I've come to really love it. It's my favorite console. And it's very versatile. Like, you could take it, you could not take it. Like, you could use someone else's dock.
Right.
You don't have to use the one at your house, which is good if you're going to a friend's house. You don't have to pack up that much stuff.
Right, and now there are these companies that make third-party docks. Although, from what I've heard, you might want to be careful which one you.
I would just get the
take.
Nintendo.
Right, yeah.
No, I actually do have a
Nintendo's the most
third-party
trusted
dock.
one.
No, honestly, I do have a third-party dock or two, thanks to a few friends of mine from Switch and Play. Actually, I'm making one for me. They're actually not that bad. It does depend on which one you do have, though.
Right. All right, so TrueAgle, I know you don't have a Switch yourself, but has the Switch release affected you in any way?
I mean, I think it's probably affected the entire gaming industry because up until now we haven't really had a mobile experience that rivals, well, except for the Vita, but that was a lot more. I'm not sure.
It was a lot more limited, I'd say, personally.
Yeah, it wasn't like having the full console experience. This is the first true hybrid console that we've seen, and I think Nintendo have explored that kind of territory before in terms of off TV play. It wasn't quite portable. You couldn't take it out of your house, but it was a little bit more portable because you could move around your living room or whatever, and it was close enough to the actual on TV experience. So in terms of how it's affected me, I guess it's changed my perspective a little bit on I guess mobile games in general, because how do I say this?
You could take, I guess in a sense, you might say you took it more seriously, maybe, or
yeah, in a way, I guess you could say that.
Okay. All right. Well, the Switch, I would say for myself, the Switch, I got it at launch. I believe, Mike, you did as well.
Yes.
Right.
Me too.
Oh, okay, cool. So most of us pretty much got it at launch, and I can say that at first the Switch was basically what Mandy said for myself. It was a Zelda machine, and as a big Zelda fan, that's more or less okay with me at first, right? But as Mario Kart came out, I enjoyed Mario Kart, but I was waiting for the first real big game, and weirdly enough, while this game does not get a lot of attention now, I love ARMS as a game. And I still play it today. And I love supporting that game so much, and I still play ranked every once in a while to try to get up there. And as far as how much the Switch has changed my perspective on gaming, I would say that it kind of delivered what I thought the Vita was going to.
Yeah.
And it's weird because I play every console, right? And I bought the Vita originally because I wanted to play console ports, basically, portably.
Yeah.
And when they had that feature where you could, kind of stream your PS3 or your PS4 to the Vita, so you could play it wherever.
Yeah, they had that.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but that feature never worked. It never worked for myself, and even if I was in my own home, it never worked. And if it did, it was very, very but not buggy, but laggy.
Yeah, it would like freeze up, and
right.
I haven't had it myself, but from what I've heard, it generally wasn't very reliable. Especially if you had if you lived in a busy apartment complex, there'd be lots of interference and stuff. So.
Right. Yeah. So the Switch is kind of I guess an evolution of that idea, and an evolution that works properly, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. So
I just wanted to I had a bit of a question expanding on the whole, since Nintendo Switch is about being portable and being able to take it on the go. Have you guys had any experiences using the Switch to play online multiplayer while on the go? So, using mobile data or using a public Wi-Fi hotspot, and has it
it's kind of funny that it's kind of funny that you mentioned that, because that's pretty much how it works every Friday at Switch and Play NYC. Again, for those that don't know about Switch and Play New York City, we are a gaming group that focuses mainly on the Nintendo Switch. So every Friday, we're underneath the concourse at Rockefeller Center in our little area with all the tables and stuff. And pretty much whenever we want to hop online, I'm pretty much helping everybody out with my unlimited mobile data. And other people are using their mobile hotspots as well to connect their Switches to play online. And sometimes we'll actually be hopping online together to play Splatoon 2 or something like that. And honestly, that's been a fantastic experience in and of itself. Or if someone wants to buy a game from the eShop, we've pretty much been using the mobile data in order to get our Switches online as well for that. So, pretty much it's kind of interesting the fact that not only is the Switch bringing people together, but we can just pretty much go online and game anywhere, even without being at home.
So
it's also very interesting too, because my first time trying to play online like that was in a car ride going to a relative's place, and I was just thinking to myself, like, oh man, I wish I could play Splatoon right now, but I need online for that. And then it just kind of clicked into my mind that wait, my phone can do that.
Yeah, you can tether your connection to your Switch.
Exactly. Right. So I tried it, and it honestly, it blew my mind that it even worked, and worked well enough that I can play reliably and not get that much lag.
Oh yeah, same here. It's kind of crazy that it works so well. But yeah, we've been having a blast with Splatoon 2 online on Friday nights.
So even if you don't have a reliable, more stable home Wi-Fi connection, you can still play online, and it works reliably well.
I'd say so. I'd say it's stable enough that you could get away with doing that.
I think it depends.
For me, I don't really play on the go to places. I play at a place which usually has Wi-Fi. So I usually play the single player games on the go, and leave the multiplayer games for when I get Wi-Fi.
Well, yeah, even if you don't have an internet connection, you can always do, as long as other people have a Switch, or even just you can use a second Joy-Con, you can always do local multiplayer.
Yeah.
Right.
And play single player games. There's so many options now.
Yeah, I just think it's so amazing that you can, again, be on a car ride going down the highway and just play a multiplayer game that of console quality, just casually, just any time.
Give the controller to your sibling or something.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up too. The fact you could just slip out of the controller and be like, here, you want to play with me? That's a beautiful thing that I love about the Switch, honestly.
For Mario Kart, I have the little steering wheel where you put the Joy-Con inside.
I mean, I guess that helps.
Hey, the steering wheel is a pretty viable option for Mario Kart.
Well, it's more to make it more space, not because of the motion.
Yeah,
because the Joy-Con is really small and your hands probably cramp up, so it's good to make it a little bit bigger. Probably helps.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right. I will say that personally, out of all of the features that the Switch has touted before, remember in the January presentation they showed a bunch of features, and I think that feature is probably the one I've used the least. The one where you just kind of hand one Joy-Con off to another person and you play with one Joy-Con and you just play that way.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd have to say so too, but it's good to have as an option if you need it.
Yeah,
think,
definitely.
I think a lot of it depends on the kind of games you're playing as well. Because
Yeah.
the two Joy-Cons, one person using each Joy-Con, works differently based on the type of game you're playing.
Because I could definitely see it for, like, say, as an example, Bomberman. If I'm playing Bomberman, that game doesn't really require that much buttons, really. You just kind of walk around, place bombs, and maybe use an item, and that's it.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine, for me anyway, playing something like Pokken Tournament with one
no.
Joy-Con.
No, it's a. I've tried playing a couple of games with one Joy-Con on its side, and it's a mess.
Right.
Especially for the SL and SR buttons, unless you have the wrist strap on it to get the bigger outward buttons, trying to like squeeze your fingers and contort them to press those little itty bitty buttons inside, it just doesn't work well.
And even then, if you have the grip that makes the buttons bigger, you have to press them down a little harder than you would normal buttons because they're obviously not actual buttons. They're just kind of like pins that press the actual buttons underneath.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
I use the Pro Controller mostly.
yeah, if I'm playing at home, I'm using the Pro Controller pretty much 95% of the time.
Well, can I just say this about the Pro Controller, by the way? I definitely think that the Switch Pro Controller has a much better feel to it than the Wii U's Pro Controller.
Oh yeah.
Really?
It does. It has. I agree with that actually.
The side grips and everything just feel much better and more like natural for the hands.
Huh.
Yeah.
It feels it matches their hands better, and there's a bit of a weight to it too that makes it.
Oh, there is. Like the Wii U's Pro Controller, it was nice, but it felt like a cheap plastic. Like this feels well built. The Switch's Pro Controller.
That's interesting. I mean, I've used my Wii U for most of its life cycle without the Pro Controller. I only recently got it, and I really like the way it feels. It's just that the button placement feels a little bit off, since both, I guess, just the positioning, the distance between the analog stick and the D-pad is a little weird, so it gets a little bit getting used to. But it's really interesting hearing that the Switch controller actually feels more robust, more better built.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I like the buttons are big.
Yeah, the buttons are bigger as well. And I don't know if this has been an issue for most people, but the D-pad apparently was an issue for a lot of people on that controller. So I guess these days, if you're looking for a Switch Pro controller, apparently the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 controller, the D-pad is built differently in that one, and it's better built in that one, because apparently in the older ones, you could press multiple directions at once by accident.
Oh, so like buttons would stick.
Yeah, basically. And while I never had that issue personally.
Yeah, me either.
But I've heard a lot of people have had that issue. So if you're out there looking for a Pro controller, I guess go for the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 one, because apparently in that controller they've addressed the issue.
I mean, is there a cost difference between the regular one and the Xenoblade one?
No. They cost exactly the same.
So
it's just one was released later.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a later revision as well, so maybe they fixed the issue in the meantime.
Right, yeah. So, I think it's about going to be a year. So, is there any specific games that the Switch had come out within this year that maybe you regret buying, or maybe you wish got more attention, anything like that? Because me personally, I can definitely say that I wish ARMS got more attention as a game.
Oh, I don't like ARMS.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan. I'm not a fan of ARMS either, honestly. Right. Honestly, once they stopped making content for ARMS, I hate to say this, but I was kind of glad that they did. One game that I kind of wish didn't actually happen was actually Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in a weird kind of way. I mean, I've won Mario Kart tournaments. I love Mario Kart 8 Deluxe very much. Don't get me wrong. But the local multiplayer on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe gets wonky to the point where we get a lot of disconnections in that game. And honestly, I'd rather have just seen a new Mario Kart for the system. But hopefully in the life cycle, we get like an actual, like proper new Mario Kart with new tracks.
I mean, I remember reading somewhere that Miyamoto said in an interview that they actually want to extend the Switch's life cycle more than a usual console. So he's thinking maybe 5 to 7 years. So in such a long lifespan, it is quite likely or possible that they are going to release another new Mario Kart title.
No, I hope so.
Right. I think it's very likely that you'll see a new Mario Kart. And when it comes to ARMS specifically, I realize that it's not a very popular game, but in terms of sales, it did still sell very well. But I'm assuming that's probably because of the fact that it came out very early in the Switch's lifespan. So a lot of people were kind of looking for a game to play.
And not only that, though, but once Splatoon came out, though, that just kind of like killed the hype for ARMS immediately.
I will say that, like, at least I think most games would have died in that same time frame if it was releasing before Splatoon, because Splatoon is a very popular game, especially in Japan.
Yeah, it was actually.
100%.
I was actually going to compare it to Splatoon. If you think about it, since ARMS is a new IP, people don't really know it that much, whereas Splatoon is a more established franchise, I guess. So, since people are just getting used to it, I'm guessing whatever the next revision of ARMS is, if they end up doing another one, is probably going to have a more similar reception to how Splatoon 2 had. I don't remember what Splatoon 1 or the first one was like, but I can imagine it's probably similar to what ARMS was like now. Maybe a little bit more popular, but probably generally about the same, since it is a new IP.
I would agree with that, actually, because I think if you remember Splatoon 1, I don't know if Mike or Mandy was there when it first launched. But,
I didn't I wasn't interested. I never played it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was very interested. Like, the very first time I saw a trailer for the original Splatoon, I was hooked immediately.
I thought it was so weird.
Honestly, though, I'm glad that Splatoon 2 happened, because it fixed so many annoying issues that Splatoon 1 had.
Because Splatoon 1, it holds a lot of, at least at launch anyway, because, they got the updates, but when it first launched, the game, at least in my opinion, held a lot of the same issues that ARMS has when that first was launched. Because they both had a problem of content kind of being, barren in a sense.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Where there wasn't much content there, and if you're spending $65 for a game that's a multiplayer-focused title, and ARMS is that as well, you're going to get most of your playtime if you're playing ARMS, playing online. So
definitely.
They have very similar issues, and they both had a very similar support in the sense of free DLC and updates and characters, or in Splatoon guns and maps. So it's very similar, and I would like to see ARMS get an update, not an update, but a sequel, essentially, where they kind of address a lot of these and kind of do what Splatoon 2 did, where they just, improve on what's there and heavily expand on that.
Right, makes sense.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's just the fact that it is a new IP, and they're still probably not sure what direction they want to take the franchise in yet. So whenever, if a new one comes out, if a sequel comes out, whenever that comes out, they're probably going to have a much better idea of where they want to take it, and it's probably going to be a lot better polished than the first one was.
Right. Well, Mike brought up that, you said you, in a slight way, you regret getting Mario Kart 8, right? For this.
Oh, yeah, just slightly, though. I mean, I don't really regret it, but, I'm just kind of itching for new Mario Kart tracks, not really a port, really.
Yeah, I understand, because no matter how well a system does within its first year, there's always going to be, at least one thing you're not totally on board with,
Oh, yeah, I think that definitely goes for any console.
Right. So that's why I wanted to ask the question, because it would be nice to spend the time to say, the Switch is fantastic in every way, but I want to be, honest here and say that there are some things.
I'd rather be honest, too, because, I mean, I'm not even a fan of the fact that we're also getting some more Wii U ports this year, but I also understand why the Wii U ports are being a thing, though. Like, not a lot of people bought the Wii U, and honestly, to me, in my opinion, the Nintendo Switch is probably what the Wii U should have been.
Definitely.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree with him. Like, it feels like they're making up the Wii U and putting it on the Switch.
No, pretty much, and I honestly don't blame them for that.
But,
I mean,
it's like a double-edged sword.
It is.
If you think about it,
at the same. Oh yeah, go ahead, TrueAgle.
I was just gonna say, if you think about it, they have usually whenever they do ports, they have other studios helping port the games over, and their main developers are working on new titles. So if you think about it, back to the Wii U, we didn't get a Mario Kart title. Mario Kart 8 didn't come in until I think it was 1.5 or 2 years after the console launched. So I guess it's a good stopgap for that. But what I'm thinking right now is they're working on a new Yoshi title. They're working on a Metroid Prime 4. Actually, I think it was a different developer. Regardless, I actually think that it's a good strategy to keep relatively new content coming onto the console, so that it doesn't feel like there's so much time between new content releases. They're still working
Oh,
on some
yeah,
in the
for
background,
sure.
obviously, but
Yeah, I
Nintendo
fully
got
agree with you.
lucky because they have like a pool of sources to like take out if
yeah, and very few
something's
people
like
have played these titles, so it's really good to give them a chance to
yeah.
get the
Well,
attention they deserve.
that's why I'm not exactly mad about the ports coming. I understand that like the Wii U's trying to make up for lost sales and everything that they could have gotten. Hence, why all the ports make sense. And honestly, I'm gonna call it now. I won't be surprised if at E3 we get a brand new like definitive edition of Super Smash Brothers with content from the 3DS and Wii U versions and new content on the Switch. And honestly, I'd be perfectly okay with that. To be fairly
I
honest,
wouldn't mind.
I know a lot of people are like, oh no, let Masahiro Sakurai work on Smash 5.
I'll
No,
be.
we don't want it. We don't want another port. But you gotta
I'll-
realize
I,
a
you
lot
see,
of sales didn't happen.
I see. I don't care what exactly it's announcing. If we're getting Smash, we're getting Smash, and if we're getting Smash, I'm
Yeah.
gonna be there.
Oh yeah, same here. And honestly, Sakurai worked his butt off on the last game, and honestly, to the point where his hand was cramping a lot. You already know that
Right.
Sakurai has his hand condition. So
Yeah,
for those that out there that really want to push the guy to like make a whole brand new Smash Brothers, I can guarantee if they made a brand new Smash Bros, I don't think it would hold up to the roster of Smash 4.
it would
Well,
be
honestly,
very difficult to do that. It
It would be very difficult to have Mario, Sonic, Mega Man, Pac-Man, Cloud, Bayonetta. The list can go on. But honestly, if you make a port of Smash 4 and you add in some new third-party characters and some other regular Smash veterans and characters that didn't make it in because of the 3DS limitations, I think we'd have a real winner here instead of having to wait for Smash 5.
I mean,
Yeah.
if
Why
you-
don't they name it like Melee 2? I mean,
That would be that would be a very interesting project for the
Mango
Smash
Nation,
community.
Fox McCloud.
because it's like the Melee did so well. Or,
Yeah.
like Melee Brawl.
Right.
Well, then again, that's why Melee and Smash 4 made it Evo, while games like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite didn't make it.
Yeah, I feel the problem I feel is that for them to make a Melee 2, I feel like that would only be what's the word? Appealing to a very specific target audience.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
and it could potentially be confusing for people
Is
who
Melee
aren't
like
into Smash.
that different?
Melee, in terms of if you're playing like competitively, is a completely different game than Smash 4 is. Like
It
gameplay.
definitely is. Like
So-
Melee is way too fast. It's heavy. Smash 4, I think, is a nice balance.
I like personally, I prefer Smash 4,
Same.
but I
Yeah.
know that there is a very loud section of the fan base that loves Melee and wants Melee HD more than anything, really.
I mean, something they could do is they could put some sort of like Melee mode or something, or a retro mode where they make whatever
Yeah, that's
the
a good
Smash for
idea.
Switch is going to be more like Melee for that certain audience. So instead of
That
making a
wouldn't be a
separate
bad
game,
idea either.
Yeah, just
Most-
say
or
it
if
has
not
a
have
Melee
it,
mode.
or if
and
not
you're
have
sold.
it as a DLC or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like their best option is to re-release Melee on a sort of virtual console type service.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Speaking of that, if Smash 4 did end up making a definitive Switch edition, I'm hoping that they actually find a way to use the GameCube adapter for it. We can use GameCube controllers and then also open that up for the GameCube Virtual Console, since online's not going to be a thing until September of this year.
And
mean-
by the way, speaking of the the online, how do you feel about because we'll talk about the Switch is 1 year. How does it feel like? How does the online stack up?
What online?
Well, online for me personally, online for me hasn't really been too much of an issue. Like Mario Kart, I haven't lost any I haven't gotten too many disconnections. Same with Splatoon. Like once in a while, depending on where I am in my house, it sometimes gets a little wonky here and there, but very rarely. But
Yeah,
then again, it does happen still, and I think Nintendo definitely. I think Nintendo's being very smart by waiting all the way until September to actually go ahead and implement the paid service. That way, they could either fix the servers or make new servers and update it, whatever they got to do, and also make sure that we have good incentives to pay for the online service.
Yeah, well, I think like functionally the online is good, but it's like I have all these friends, but I can't do anything with my friend list.
So like
Right.
chatting
It's like-
with them or whatever.
Yeah, or like not even a text or anything. And I don't like the app addition.
Oh yeah,
I hope they like do away with that.
I mean,
Yeah, the Nintendo Switch app is hit or miss, honestly. The one thing I will say about the Nintendo Switch app that I do happen to like, and I kind of hope that they end up bringing this for other games, I do like the fact that you can go in there and check your Splatoon stats and buy extra, like, exclusive gear for the shot that you can use with the in-game currency that you earn while playing the game on the Switch.
Yeah, I mean, the PlayStation has apps, like the PlayStation app, but
Right.
there's this thing on the system also, so
Right.
it's more
And
like an extra.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
if they had a sort of companion app that was just basically what the Xbox and the PlayStation have right now, where it's basically like you can check your profile, your trophies, achievements, messages, anything like that, then I think the app would be fine. But using the app primarily as your online like party system is not good.
Kind of
I mean, all this
dated.
is fixable through software updates, so it's possible
Oh, yeah,
that they
agreed.
could address this.
Right. And earlier I brought up a question about a game you might have regret buying. So I want to, if I'm able to go back to that, so I can ask Eagle. Well, Eagle, you don't have a Switch yet, but what about any? Has there ever been any Wii U, maybe 3DS games that you bought for that hasn't really struck home with you?
No, not really. I mean, I think the only thing I really regret is not getting a Switch sooner because I really want to play Odyssey.
Yeah,
I've actually
like-
been.
I guess you could say that's your regret.
Yeah, my regret is not getting it sooner.
And Mandy, do you have any games like that you regretted in any way?
I wish Pokken Tournament got more attention.
Do you like Pokken Tournament, or is it because?
I like it. It's just after, everything. There's not really that much content.
Yeah, like the hype died down and there isn't much going on in
Yeah.
terms of Pokemon, yeah.
I wish there was more Pokemon, like maybe an adventure mode.
I mean, they've
Something.
added new DLC, so there's nothing saying that they can't add more DLC in the future.
Yeah.
I
and it's-
kind of hope Pokken gets more DLC, or at least a proper sequel.
Right. I'll say the only, for myself, the only game I've regretted picking up, and I have a good amount of them, is Binding of Isaac. And there's nothing wrong with that game. That game is actually a really, well-made game, but it's just the simple fact that with all the other indies that have come out on the system, all the other games coming out on the system, I just haven't had the time to play it.
Yeah,
So-
did you buy it because I bought it because it was like that's the only game available at the time. So-
I bought it on a whim. I was just at the Nintendo New York store, and I was just kind of waiting around for a friend, waiting to meet up, and I was looking around, just waiting, and I saw it there, and I was like, I haven't played that before. Let me go pick that up and play it. I never touched it again.
Now,
So,
for me, I'd have to say that my one game / regret or thing that I wish got more attention, I don't honestly have to say that would be Bomberman.
Bomberman.
Oh
Really?
yeah, I forgot.
So
Because
you-
Bomberman, I don't know, the local, that's also going back to the local multiplayer issue that I was talking about earlier, that Mario Kart kept disconnecting.
Right.
Bomberman was even worse. Like, when we got into matches, the game would chug really horribly, and we couldn't play Bomberman together.
Really?
So would you say that like online multiplayer in those situations works better than
It-
local?
Honestly, in some regards, yeah, because Mario Kart, when we used our mobile data on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe and got into a private room online, it actually worked better than local multiplayer.
That's interesting.
that is a thing too. I remember playing Smash on the 3DS, and the local play would be worse than if we were just going online and just meeting from there,
Yeah.
which was
Huh.
very weird. And I don't know why that's the case, but I will say for Bomberman specifically, multiplayer on that game, whether it's locally or online, is garbage.
Yeah. It's a
bad
shame because
regardless.
Bomberman's a really great classic.
Like if you're playing locally, the game is fun, and you're gonna have your good old classic Bomberman fun. But
Oh, yeah, if you sit down with 8 people in front of one TV, then yeah, you're fine on that regard. But other than that, it's pretty much nearly unplayable.
So the problem is when you're trying to use multiple Switch systems and they're communicating with each other. I'm guessing.
Yeah.
basically, yeah.
I
And
feel
online
like
multiplayer-
Nintendo needs to work on that, in general.
right?
Hopefully it isn't a hardware issue. Hopefully it's something you can fix through software updates.
Actually, speaking of hardware, there's a lot of people that's been bringing this up recently, so I wanted to touch on it a bit. So I don't know if you guys know about the YouTuber Review Tech USA,
Mhm.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
but he did a video not too long ago where he was talking about the Switch's lifespan being 5 to 7 years, as you brought up, Eagle.
Yeah.
And basically, he was saying that in order for Nintendo's console to compete in that long of a lifespan, he feels that Nintendo needs to come out with a revision of the Switch that would essentially be what the PS4 Pro or the Xbox One X is, where it's a more powerful version of the same console.
If that happens, I will trade in my Switch and get that day one, as long as we can transfer our data, like cloud saving or something like that. Because a lot of people have been saying that cloud saving should be a thing too on the Switch in the future.
It should.
It really should, because with a portable console,
if you lose your Switch, you're done.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's weird because on the PS4...
Funny enough you say that, by the way, Mandy, about losing the save data. There was someone at IGN that ended up sending in their Switch for repairs, and they lost all of their data.
Right, yeah. Because
it's stuff of nightmares.
Yes, it is.
Because honestly, I will say that with the PS4 and the Xbox, I never use cloud saving personally, but with the Switch specifically, considering that it's a portable system that you could lose any time or gets robbed for it any time, it's kind of like... It feels like it's needed on the Switch.
Especially because the DS has a transfer system at least.
See, we need something like that. And then, honestly, down the line, I'd be okay with the Nintendo Switch XL or a revision of the Switch that gives it 4K capabilities like the PS4 Pro does.
Because, the thing is that hardware-wise, I agree with him. I'm going to say that I agree with Rich, where that in order for the Switch to compete in that long run and keep getting these AAA ports, they are going to need to kind of up the hardware at some point. But what I'm thinking is that how likely do you really think Nintendo will do that? Or how likely do you think it is that they will make a smaller version? Because in my opinion, I'm not too sure how they can make a smaller or larger version of the Switch without changing the size of JoyCons. And then when you factor in Nintendo Labo, the Switch and the Joy-Cons have to fit very snug into these tiny little cardboard sections. So how would they make it smaller and larger?
I think it's
again, have you seen? Well, yeah, go ahead, Julie.
I was gonna say it's actually quite likely that Nintendo is gonna do that, because we've seen them do it before with the Nintendo 3DS. Where
I was about to say, have you seen the new 2DS XL and the new 3DS XL? They'd find a way to do it.
Yeah, it's basically the same
honestly,
hardware.
If there was a Nintendo Switch XL, I would imagine that they'd have the same size Joy-Cons. But they would just probably center the guards more in the middle, like the rail guards, and slip the Joy-Cons to fit more in the center.
Yeah.
See, I agree that it's likely because of the 3DS, but the 3DS doesn't have detachable controllers that depend on the size of the system itself.
I think they'd honestly keep the Joy-Cons the same size and just give us a bigger screen, and then find a way to center it better.
And maybe add on some,
add on some grips and maybe make a customized dock for it.
I mean, they don't necessarily need to increase the size of the Switch. They could just upgrade the internals, put a more powerful processor or graphics processor.
Well, that too. That's honestly not a bad thing, but I kind of wish it was a slightly bigger screen. Not by much, maybe another inch or two, maybe an 8-inch tablet or something like that instead of 6.
Yeah.
What TheTrueagle brought up is basically exactly what I'm thinking they're going to do, because I find that, me personally, the 3DS and the 2DS, it works flawlessly for increasing size or making it smaller. Making it stronger. But I feel as though because of the nature of the Switch itself, it would be a challenge, to say the least, to increase the size or decrease the size in some way because of the nature of the detachable controllers part of it, right? But this is basically why I think they're gonna go with a stronger version of it, because if they go with a stronger version of it, that's just changing the internals. They can do that. It's possible to do that. They can swap out the Tegra X1, put it in X2, and then maybe in the future, X3, whatever it is that they have, and, increase the specs on it.
Yeah, and as far as Mike actually mentioned that he wants a bit of a bigger screen, from what I've seen, the bezels on the actual Switch are really big, so they could potentially make a newer version where they make the screen bigger by decreasing the bezel size, so the actual size of the Switch is the same, it's just that the screen is bigger, because they have room.
That could easily work. You're right, that could definitely work too.
Yeah.
And
what about if they sold a separate screen that doesn't work out?
I'm not sure how that would work. I mean,
yeah, I was thinking about it. I was like, oh
no. Honestly, Manny might be onto something. Being able to have a bigger screen that you can take on the go, and then find or some sort of adapter or connector. That way you can connect your Nintendo Switch to any tablet. or something like that.
It's actually a pretty good idea.
With a partner,
it could work. There are companies right now.
Oh wait, what?
I was just gonna say that there are companies right now that they do make these sort of like portable game station type things where you could, like where you can kind of just plug in. Like there's a specific one where it's like a suitcase where you can just put your PS4 inside of it. Or your
I've
Xbox
seen that
One.
before.
Yeah, and it powers it and also has a screen and everything. So it is possible, but I feel like the point of those products is to make the home console portable, but the Switch already does that.
Yeah.
So, so I'm not too sure the Switch would really get anything like that.
As far as power, from what I've seen, I've actually heard a couple of people, I guess rumors, of Nintendo releasing an updated dock that has, I guess, more processing power, something like a co-processor or something. So whenever you dock the Switch in it, then it uses that extra power. So in TV mode, it has more power. So that would be another option probably to make it a little bit more cost effective. So you don't have to get a whole new Switch. You can just get an updated dock that has, a little bit of a processing boost. And you can just dock it into that.
That would be interesting because if you look at the back of the dock, it's just like an empty hole for the most part. And then like one tiny little box section that's just where the USB, the HDMI, and the power goes to.
Yeah, it's almost
Hence
as if
why people go ahead.
I was going to say, it's almost as if they left room there to put something in there at some point later.
Yeah, like I could easily imagine if they took out that flap and just filled that whole area up with just like whatever they need to make the Switch, process more. And then have the USB not the USB, a USB, the HDMI, and the power kind of just like on the back, like how you would any other console in a sense.
Yeah.
So it would be
makes sense.
It'd be interesting, but I'm not sure if that would be a thing because then that also means that there would be a lot of games that they want to use that power on TV mode, but then once you take it out of the dock, the game is going to be gimped to all hell, like really badly.
Yeah, that is definitely going to be an issue.
I have a question.
What's that?
Is there a way to like have the Switch without the dock and you could just shoot it to your TV?
So like a wireless type thing?
Yeah, like a Bluetooth?
Not yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if a company is already trying to make that too.
It could be. It might be possible if Nintendo made their own sort of like dongle that you would plug.
That's what I was thinking
TV.
as well.
Oh, okay.
Oh, kind of like Chromecast.
Sort
of,
yeah. Something you plug into the bottom of the Switch that then broadcasts that to a TV or something. Kind of like a Chromecast.
I mean, that'd be good if you have like Hulu on it, on your Switch.
Yeah.
Yes, I think it's possible, but they would have to kind of make a dongle of some sort that you would have on the TV there.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, not that I have a problem with the dock. It's just, something to think about.
It would make it it's interesting because it would make a already what's the word convenient option that we have a little more convenient in a sense.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like my phone, I have an Apple, and you could do like Apple Drop, which just I could like write notes on my phone and then drop it to my iPad in an instant.
Right.
And same goes with videos and like like they share a screen.
Okay. Yeah, it could do something like that, but then the only argument I could see that would go against that idea is the thought that that might require the Switch to go to like a whole nother screen. Maybe you just want to, maybe in the middle of a game and you don't want to get off it, you just like dock it and it's already on there instead of having to go to a screen. Maybe the connection might not be as good. We might have a Vita situation with that. So it depends on a lot.
It's just something to think about.
Yeah, this is all speculative at this point.
Right. So I wanted to ask because I saw some YouTubers being a little annoyed about this in particular, that we're seeing a trend with the Switch ever since it launched. But we saw this with Resident Evil Revelations. We saw this with now Mega Man Legacy Collection. How do you guys feel about games that they put maybe half of the game on the cartridge and download the rest?
Why?
Yeah, I'm not really a fan of that myself as a YouTuber myself, but I can understand why they're doing that. But for like something like the Mega Man Legacy Collection 1 and 2, doing that honestly makes no sense because how much space could the Mega Man games possibly take up?
Yeah, I mean, I think
Yeah.
most developers probably do that because the Switch cartridges themselves are probably really expensive, so, as a cost-saving measure. But I guess they should probably take into consideration the consumer experience as well, and probably take those two into account, because ultimately putting the whole game on the cartridge just makes the consumer experience better because you have everything there and you don't have to waste time downloading or whatever.
Right. But
Yeah.
see, I agree with that to an extent because I can understand that with, say, Resident Evil Revelations, and I believe another game that I can't remember off the top of my head. But with like
Bayonetta?
Mike, yeah, Bayonetta. Thank you. Bayonetta did that as well, and I can understand it with those games because they have a pretty decent size to them, right? And I believe the cartridges of the Switch go up to like 32 gigs at most right now, but that would cost a lot more. The one exception is Mega Man, like Mike brought up, because Mega Man, if you look at the file sizes, the first Legacy Collection only goes up to about 300 something megabytes, if I'm remembering it correctly. And add that with Legacy Collection 2, which is about 5 gigs, even the default 8 gigabytes would be enough for this.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
It's
from
more-
Hence why when I end up picking it up, I'm probably gonna end up doing it on download.
from what I
I
remember,
think it's more to justify a physical release.
Mm-hmm.
from what I
'Cause
remember,
they
I think
won't,
the
like-
smallest Switch cartridge is 4 gigabytes, so maybe...
Is it 4?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. From what I can remember, anyway.
Okay, because if it's 4, then Legacy Collection 2 specifically, it could make some sense. But then I wonder, like, how much more is an 8 gigabyte cart then? Because I'm pretty sure 8 gigabytes, if it is 4, it would be right after.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine it being that much.
Shifty.
Yeah.
Getting back to your question about a game I regret, I thought of one, and
Oh.
it's 1-2 Switch.
Oh
Oh,
yes.
It's so forgettable, I forgot.
I still think that
Right,
should have
yeah.
been included as a free game, kind of like the way
Agreed.
Wii
I
Sports was.
agree. I feel as though Nintendo would have raised the price on the Switch if they did that, but
Yeah, it's possible.
it's. I used to own. That's the only game I've owned on the Switch that I've sold. Now that you mention it,
Yeah.
it's every other game I've kept, even the ones where I'm not 100% on. It's 1-2 Switch was not a. That's not a game.
No,
No,
that
it's
was-
not. It's a tutorial.
Yeah, it's weird because
Um,
you look back on Wii and Wii U and those games. Say what you want about Nintendo Land, but Nintendo Land is my favorite of the 3.
Yo, I would actually. That's one game I would actually like to see be brought over to the Switch, like a brand new Nintendo Land. Like I'd like to
Nintendo
see it. Like,
Sports.
oh
Not
yeah.
Sports.
Yeah.
Well, no, honestly, the Mario Tennis Aces that's coming out at some point this year. But yeah, I hope Nintendo actually has the right idea though, and I hope that Mario Tennis Aces actually plays as good as it looked in the first trailer for that.
Right.
I hope they do more with the Miis.
Yeah, that too.
I
Oh,
really
no.
like the Miis.
It's interesting because, like, where have they been in terms of the Switch?
Exactly. I have mine as my picture,
Right.
but they don't
Don't
have
forget,
like.
Mitomo's also dying out as well.
They
Yeah, I
should
actually
just
heard
put
they're
it
going
on
to be
the
shutting
Switch.
it down.
Yeah, Mitomo's getting shut down. Yeah.
They should just put it on the Switch. I mean, free app right there.
You know,
I mean-
there's a lot of free to play games I'd love to see on the Switch that we just haven't seen.
Eh.
It's interesting, but with the Mii's are literally only used for profile pictures, and that's it, right?
I know it's sad. They're
The
so
only time
cute.
I've seen them implemented into an actual game right now is Mario Kart Deluxe's driver.
Oh,
And I
I have Miitopia for the DS.
Well, see, Miitopia is actually a fun game. Like
It
a lot
is.
of
It's
people.
cute.
Yeah, and
Miitopia is definitely a good one.
you know, now that you mentioned Mario Kart 8, Mike, it's interesting that that's the only one that really has Mii's in it, considering that's a Wii U game originally. But I wanted to bring up, do you guys remember back when they first revealed the Switch, they had a game where I think it came out, it was called Flip Wars? That
Flip Wars. That you know, going back to the game I regret buying, that's probably mine actually.
I don't remember.
Well,
I
that.
thought
it was a game
Because
basically
it
where
was
in the
a game-
reveal.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, but it was in the reveal. They showed it was basically with Mii's, and you would kind of do I guess, a ground pound, for lack of a better term. where you would kind of like change the color of the tiles under you. You kind of had to like get the most color on your end than the other people doing the same. But the reason why I wanted to bring it up was the pure fact that originally they showed that game off of Mii's. The game doesn't have Mii's anymore.
Oh, I don't even remember that, honestly.
The
That's
1-2
interesting.
Switch should have had Mii's instead of people.
It probably would have worked more in that sense.
It
if
would
had,
have been more
Like-
cuter.
Yo, the real
Yeah.
people in 1-2 Switch is nothing short of cringeworthy.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like
I think
it
what they
feels
were. Go ahead.
awkward. No, it just feels like that just feels weird.
Yeah, I know
Like,
what you're talking about.
I know they were like trying to get, oh, this guy's playing it, you can too, but
Yeah, I think
the
what they were
music-
going for, because I think originally when they were developing it, they may have actually used Mii's, but I think they were trying to appeal to a more general audience, and they were afraid that maybe using Mii's might make it look a little bit more, I guess, childish or whatever, and they were trying to appeal to a more mature or an older audience, so maybe that's the reason they made that decision.
Oh yeah.
Mature people like Mii's.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think
you
yeah,
just make them look older.
I mean, I kind of agree with Mandy in a sense because the Wii did so successful because it kind of appealed to everyone, and the
I
Mii's
can
were
agree
part
with
of that.
too.
The Mii's were part of that whole thing. So I'm not too sure with that, but I think mainly, to be honest with you guys, I think the main reason why they didn't use Mii's as the frontline image for 1-2 Switch or maybe Flip Wars because they clearly removed Mii's from Flip Wars.
Or anything.
Yeah, was probably just to get away from the Wii name.
Yeah, that makes a lot of
suppose
sense
so.
when you put it that way.
Because
Yeah.
after what happened with the Wii U, the way I'm looking at it, it just looks like Nintendo was trying to distance themselves as much as possible.
Yeah,
from
and
that.
if you think about it, Mii's, whenever you think of Mii's, you associate it with the Wii and the Wii U, so it does make sense.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Right.
stop all the ports from coming in though.
No, not at all.
Oh, he brings up a good point.
Yeah.
Not at all. I guess that's the one thing they want to bring over.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. It's interesting because like a lot of the Wii U games they're bringing over, some of them I feel are justified and some aren't. But I think that's totally depends on your
Hyrule
taste.
Warriors Definitive Edition.
Hyrule Warriors is one that is not justified, and yet
That's
knowingly-
why I made. That's why the cloth.
Yeah,
like 3 times you ported that over. Like
Like, if they have it on the DS, they should rethink it a little.
right.
Like, come on.
I'd like to see. I mean, I know we are pretty much saying that Wii U ports on the whole thing, but I still do want to see Smash, and I still do. And this might sound weird. I kind of want to see certain games that use the Wii U like the gamepad very heavily, and just see how the Switch would do with it in a sort of weird, curious, like light in a sense.
the one game that I know a lot of my friends really want to see make it on the Switch is Super Mario Maker.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how they port that over since it used like I don't know if it required it, but it used a lot of the touch screen and having 2 screens. So I don't know how.
I'd rather not personally have a Mario Maker 2 to be honest, because Mario Maker was good, but freaking those Kaizo levels pissed me off. Honestly, leave the levels to the professionals.
I have a question.
What's that?
What would you think about, like, the DS being into the Switch? Like, since you have all those ports.
Oh, don't forget also the World Ends will use the DS port.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
So you're
can you have,
asking-
like, your DS? That wouldn't make any sense because they're both on the car.
Wait, so you're
Well,
asking like porting 3DS games to the Switch?
No, like, have the DS, like, how you had it, like, with the Wii U, where you could, like, use it as a controller and a...
Oh, so like have a wireless dongle or something that broadcasts to the TV and have both screens, the
Yeah.
Switch screen and the TV screen. That would be interesting.
Or like a 3DS app that lets you use the 3DS as a controller.
Because there's
Right.
a lot of games that are on the 3DS that... I don't know, just
Yeah, I know
an
what you mean.
idea.
Yeah,
It would be interesting and could probably be that kind of gateway to make certain games work. Like imagine if they put a port of Wonderful 101. How would that really work on the Switch by itself? Maybe something like that might help out. But
I've never
I
played
feel
Wonderful
though-
101 myself, but I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I feel it's possible, but I'm also unsure about how willing Nintendo would be
Yeah.
for something like that, because that would mean like your
They're both
install.
on
Yeah,
the
like
go.
there's that, and also like if you're looking at it from a business standpoint, what the install base would be very like it would be smaller than it would be if it was just one system in a sense.
Yeah.
Because you don't need someone who needs a Switch or a 3DS. You need someone who has a Switch and a 3DS to play this game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it kind of limited a bit, I think.
I mean, it's certainly an interesting idea, but I don't know how viable it is.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, there are still some games I'd like to see ported. Like I said, I would like to see certain games make it, but not all of them should be on there. You know, they should be.
I agree.
Very specific, I think. Like Hyrule Warriors is not one we needed. Although
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it doesn't work well on the DS.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Like, it functions, but it doesn't play as well. Your fingers cramp.
Right. Like
Yeah.
knowing
I
myself.
honestly also don't think that we need a new funky mode in Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze.
Funny enough, I'm gonna buy that because that's gonna be my first time playing that game. But I can understand from a perspective if you've already played the game that funky mode is nowhere near enough content to justify $60. Like it's
Yeah, I mean, if you've never had the game before, it's a fine. But if the problem is making the game too easy, I mean the option's there, but you don't have to use it if you don't want to.
Oh yeah.
And I don't plan on to either.
Funky.
Well, don't forget we also have the new balloon mode, the new balloon world coming in like 2 days after the recording of this podcast.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Right. It's interesting, and looking back at the year of the Switch, do you guys really remember the first year of the Wii U?
No, I don't.
No.
The only thing I remember from the Wii U, maybe in the first year, I think, was Nintendo Land, and friggin' yeah, that's about it.
I just remember going from the Wii to the Wii U, like there was no hype in between.
Yeah, there wasn't nearly as much hype
like
as there is for the
upgrade.
Switch.
Yeah.
Even though Nintendo New York had an event for that.
Right, yeah. Like most of the world didn't even know. Funny enough, I didn't even know for like the first 6 months.
You didn't
Yeah,
know
my
about
Wii
the
broke.
Wii U?
Yeah,
and
the
I
Wii
went
U.
to
I
get
had
a
no
new
idea.
one. And they had a Wii U. I was like, what?
I was actually really hyped about it before it launched, and I pre-ordered it and got it at launch.
Oh, really?
Wow.
I ended up pre-ordering mine too and getting that at launch.
Yeah, I got it about, I want to say 6 months down the line around the time Pikmin 3 released.
Yeah, that's when I got mine.
Yeah, I mean, in hindsight, there was very little content when it first launched, so getting it 6 months or a year after it launched is
If I
probably a
remember
good
correctly,
idea.
the only 2 games I really picked up for the Wii U at launch was New Super Mario Bros. U and friggin' Nintendo Land.
And Nintendo Land came bundled with the deluxe edition, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I got I remember getting the deluxe edition and having Nintendo Land, and I believe I bought New Super Mario Bros. U and Zombie U with it.
Oh yeah, Zombie U was another one that was at launch.
Yeah, and I enjoyed the games, but it's just when you take the first year of the Wii U, where you had New Super Mario Bros., Zombie U, Nintendo Land, Pikmin 3, and I honestly can't remember what else really was in the first year.
From what I can remember, there were a lot of third-party titles, but in terms of like core Nintendo audiences, they probably didn't have very much Nintendo
Nowhere near
content.
a strong lineup as we got this year for first party, though.
I mean, from what I remember now, I think they had Batman as some sort of Batman game, and
Arkham City,
Arkham Asylum.
There was a bunch of
edition.
stuff from Ubisoft and other developers, but not very much Nintendo stuff.
Right.
So in terms of that, Nintendo definitely did do a much better job with the Switch in terms of having, even though Breath of the Wild was the only game for a little bit, being such a big game, it did feel like you had a decent amount of stuff to play before Mario Kart and other things started releasing.
Definitely, and you also not only did you have more games to play, but the quality of the games were a lot higher as well.
Definitely,
with the Switch. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, probably one of my favorite games. Yeah, I would say some of my favorite games of all time already released on the Switch.
Oh yeah,
it's amazing the amount of quality and the quantity we're getting at the same time within the year, and I can only hope that the year 2 of the Switch can continue. But honestly, I don't think it's going to be able to match that because we had Breath of the Wild, we had Mario Odyssey. Those two games alone were massive, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
And not to mention Splatoon 2 is also doing a good job with all the updates coming out for it.
oh, definitely, yeah.
Right,
And
And
right.
not to
the
mention
third
other
party
solid third-party titles like Rocket League and other stuff. And then we got Dark Souls coming to Switch. There's just a lot to look forward to still for the
And
first few
indies.
months of year 2.
What was that, Mandy? You said,
Indies.
Indies.
oh, indies.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
There's
Indies
a
are
lot
very
of
strong on the Switch.
There's so many
Yeah.
indies I can't catch up. I'm still playing SteamWorld Dig 2 right now, and I'm trying to finish it so I can get to Celeste.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's-
Celeste is beautiful.
I'm so excited to play that, but I just don't have the time. There's so many
That's-
indies coming up.
That's definitely a
But-
good problem to
Shuffle
have.
Knight,
Yeah,
Shovel
definitely.
Knight, Shantae, and a whole bunch of others.
Oh, definitely.
like
Rocket
if you're in
League.
the mood to play a game but don't have the money, the indies are very good. For
Definitely.
Oh, there's a really funny one on there for like $3. Oh, sir, the Insult Simulator.
Oh, yeah, I've
Yeah,
seen that on
just-
the eShop.
For $3, it's a fun little game.
Right. And, I'm sure maybe you guys, maybe on your own channels, you've talked about this, or maybe you talked about it on Twitter or anything like this. And maybe this is something I should have asked last month, but I feel as though there was so many news going on last month that we didn't really have the time. So I wanted to ask, since this is about the 1 year anniversary of the Switch, and then within this first year, what do you consider to be your top game on the Switch? Like your number one game?
Breath of the Wild.
Breath of the Wild?
Probably Breath of the Wild for me too, yeah.
Now, for me, it's a tie between Mario Kart Deluxe and Mario Odyssey, actually.
And I would say Breath of the Wild as well.
I mean, for me, I haven't played Odyssey, but for me, I feel that Odyssey and Breath of the Wild are really close, and I guess it depends on the individual person which franchise they prefer, which one they like more.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I never really grew up with Zelda. I'm more of a Mario guy. So
I haven't
yeah, it
either.
makes
I'm going to
sense.
be honest. Like the first Zelda game I played was Wind Waker back in 2013 or 2014, I think it was. So I'm fairly new to the Zelda franchise as well. I am more of a Mario guy myself.
And
Oh, wow.
and in my point of view, I Mario Odyssey is an easy second. Like it's a
Oh,
fantastic
definitely.
game.
If it's not
Yeah.
first, it's definitely second.
Exactly,
Yeah.
right. And it's weird because I look at Mario Odyssey right now and I can tell you with a straight face that Mario Odyssey is my favorite Mario platformer, period. It's my favorite Mario game, right? But Breath of the Wild I consider to be probably my second favorite Zelda.
What
So-
was your first?
My first is a very stereotypical one, but Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Ocarina of Time. And to be honest with you guys, it's more of a like I think a lot of people feel this way, but everyone has that one game that they grew up with that meant a lot to them as a kid, as a
Yeah.
child, and they kind of can look back at it and even still play to this day and hold that like special emotions with it.
For me,
Oh yeah, like for
Yeah.
And
Mine
Ocarina
is
of
Wind
Time-
Waker,
Right, yeah. And Ocarina
but
of
it's
Time
not my
is like-
favorite.
for me, it's actually Mario and Luigi Partners in Time back from the DS.
Oh man, I have that game.
Such
For
a
me,
good
it's-
game.
For me, it's still Mario Kart 64. Like that's what got me into gaming in the first place, and why I'm even on YouTube and Twitch, and why I'm so passionate about the racing series now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
Cool.
you could say, in terms of Nintendo Bitcast, it looks like Breath of the Wild is the winner.
Probably.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, we're like basic.
Yeah, but hey, Breath of the Wild clearly earned it. You know,
Yeah.
that the awards.
oh
it
yeah. I'm
got-
not. I mean, I'm not really as big of a fan of Breath of the Wild as I am Odyssey, but you can't deny how good Odyssey and Breath of the Wild both are as titles. But Breath of the Wild had some really fantastic exploration, and then the DLC that they came up with, like Breath of the Wild is definitely a top-notch game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the only. If I had to bring up any negatives to either one of those games, they would be negatives that wouldn't. It didn't affect my enjoyment of the games too much, and also my main reason as to why I love Ocarina so much, and probably more than Breath of the Wild, is only because of the simple fact that when I first played Ocarina, now when you play the game, the world is tiny, right?
Oh yeah.
But when you first played it back when it first released, that game was huge. And for me, going to Breath of the Wild, I got a very similar feeling to that. Breath of the Wild was massive,
Yeah.
but
Definitely.
the one thing that made it go just a bit lower than Ocarina, in my view, was the fact that while Ocarina felt huge for its time, it still had the the ability to put in well-designed dungeons and temples and have a good amount of them at the same time. While Breath of the Wild, it only had about 4, and they weren't really as well designed compared to the other dungeons of a lot of other Zelda games.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reasoning behind that was the fact that they had shrines, and those sort of were like mini temples or something.
Yeah, they got like
Right.
too
I mean, they're
caught
not like
up in the physics of like the shrines and how they work.
oh yeah, I mean
Right.
they weren't like traditional dungeons, but they definitely I guess compensate for the lack of dungeons since there was like 120 of them.
Right,
and
right.
they're like unique and
They all
They
have
were-
unique
they were-
puzzles, yeah.
Yeah, they were great, and I just felt like I needed to explain my my love for Ocarina, just so it's not just a nostalgia thing. But I do have a genuine love for both of those games, and A Link to the Past as well.
I like all Zelda games.
I know what you mean when you
I love
say you
all of
prefer Ocarina of Time. I've actually been playing a lot more Ocarina of Time since the last Bitcast, and although I guess I don't know if you've played it when you were a child or if I guess maybe your perception has changed since then, but in terms of story, I feel Ocarina of Time did a little bit of a better job than Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is a little bit more vague, and they focused a lot more on the exploration and the
Right.
the world a lot more than they focus on the story. So
And
that's what I like
that's
more about
exactly-
Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I liked Ocarina so much, because a lot of the time people like to look at older games and kind of judge them in a modern like sense, where like now you can look at Ocarina's world and say, oh, it's tiny, so of course they can fit all these things. But when you look back at it and when you realize the time of when it released, Nintendo managed to release a whole 3D world environment on the like a very old console. Just be fair there,
Yeah.
and you know, they released this giant, at the time, giant world, 3D world that you can explore in, find secrets, and also get a very well-constructed story that also got, you know, your usual 7, 8 temples and such.
Yeah.
That's kind of why I see it as that one game that goes above and beyond and goes above Breath of the Wild. Because Breath of the Wild was fantastic. I love that game. I've 100%ed it. I've done everything I can possibly do in that game.
You got all the Korok seeds.
Yes, I did.
Oh my god.
I haven't. I still only have about 250 or so.
I haven't even tried.
I mean, I haven't gone like Korok seed hunting. I'm just like, if I see one, I go grab it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't go out of my way to like
I'm that kind of guy where if I love the game as much as I do, I'll go that far for it, basically.
nah.
And I do plan on doing live streams soon for Master Mode, but that's something else,
Oh yeah.
right? But
Good
that's
luck.
it. I'll do my best. Man, but yeah. So I guess all in all, we could safely say that all of us have enjoyed our year with the Switch, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like the Switch has definitely been a game changer for me, both on and off YouTube.
Right, right. So if I could, before we end this podcast, I want to ask, let's see how you guys would rate the first year of the Wii U versus the first year of the Switch and see how that goes.
Mhm.
I think
Well,
it'd be a very
honestly-
interesting environment.
Honestly, Switch pretty much blows Wii U out of the water. Like, I'd give the Switch's year one like a 9 out of 10. I'd probably have to give the Wii U's first launch like a 6 out of 10. Maybe 5 out of 10 even.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
Okay.
think no matter which way you put it, the Switch definitely blew the Wii U out of the water. And it hurts to say this because I'm a huge Wii U fan. I love the Wii U, but the Switch did objectively better in its first year.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't even know the Wii U was a thing.
Right,
like
right.
into its first year.
Yeah, they did a
So-
much better job marketing it this time around.
So if you
Oh, yeah,
would,
100%.
so Eagle and Mandy, what would you rate them if you had to give them a rating?
Switch a 10 out of 10, and Wii U like a 5 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably give the
Because-
Wii U a 6 out of 10 and the Switch a 10 out of 10 as well.
Okay, interesting. Well, I'll give the Switch a 10 out of 10. Right, I agree with you guys. The first year was fantastic, but I think I'm going to be a little more negative with the Wii U than you guys are, and say I'll give it a 4 out of 10.
Huh.
My reasoning being that I could only name one game within the first year that I can remember that I actually enjoyed enough to say it was worth it.
Yeah.
And that being Pikmin 3. New Super Mario Bros. 2 and Zombie U, they were good games, but they weren't worth it.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
Right. And if it's only one game, and like I enjoyed the hardware, I thought the Nintendo Land was fun, and I enjoyed them, but
it just didn't have the software to back it.
Yeah, for the first year, anyway. I mean, I guess in general you could say that as well, but later on as the years went by, I did enjoy the Wii U a lot more.
It did pick up, yeah.
Yeah. All right, well, I guess that's it for this episode of the podcast. Is there any last?
I have one last question though before we end this all, because I think that we should definitely give our people one more thought to go on. Okay. What game / series are you guys hoping for / looking forward to in year 2 of the Switch of what we know so far? If you had to pick one game, for me that has to definitely be Kirby Star Allies coming out next month. Because Kirby Star Allies, like Kirby, is one of my favorite series, so I'm looking forward to that very much.
Yeah, I agree with him.
Oh, Kirby Star Allies for you too?
Mm-hmm.
All right, what about you, Eagle? Is there what game are you looking forward to?
I mean,
we're hoping to see maybe like E3 or something like that, maybe.
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I think most games I'd expect to be on the system are already on, except for Smash or something else. But a game I'd kind of like to see, and I don't think they've ever done it on home console, although now it's both mobile and home, is maybe a new, what's it called, Mario and Luigi game, one of the RPGs.
Oh yeah, that would be nice.
Oh, what about you, Shifty?
I'm going to say, in terms of, does it matter if the game has been announced yet, or does that not matter?
Oh, no, it doesn't matter. It could be announced. It could be something that you're hoping for.
So I'm going to go for something more obscure in a sense, because this is a game series that hasn't been touched in a while, and I've been hoping that they've made a sequel for so long now. I want Camelot to make a new Golden Sun.
Huh. That'd be a good one to have.
Because, the sports games they're making are great and all, but when they made Golden Sun back on the Game Boy Advance and later on the DS, they were fantastic. I love those games.
I'm going to be honest, I've never heard of those.
Do yourself a favor, and you have a Wii U, check it out. They're on the virtual.
I'll definitely check it out.
Yeah, they're great RPGs that I can't say much about it. It's just they're just great games. They're great RPGs.
Definitely gonna check that out.
All right, yeah. But if I had to pick a game that was announced, No More Heroes, easy. I need me No More Heroes.
All right, now I think we're good.
Right. All right. Well, now that's the end of the Nintendo Bitcast. Everyone, just comment. What game are you looking forward to? What did you think about the Nintendo Switch and the Wii U's first years? And
definitely leave your thoughts down below.
Right. Exactly. Let us know. And we'll see you in the next Nintendo Bitcast.